For centuries, the Dominion Empire ruled the galaxy with cold precision and absolute confidence. Their fleet stretched across 1,000 worlds, their banners waving over the ruins of those who dared to resist. No battle had ever been lost. No enemy had ever survived. To most species, the Dominion was not just a power, it was a law of nature. The Empire's ships were vast and perfect, shaped like black blades cutting through the dark of space. Every vessel carried weapons strong enough to melt continents, and every commander had been trained since birth to obey without question. When the Dominion arrived in a star system, the outcome was always the same: submission or extinction. There were no exceptions, no mercy. Entire civilizations were erased, cities burned into glass. The Dominion called it purification, but the galaxy called it fear. In the Great Void, whispers spread of their conquests. The words were always the same: no one can defeat them. But far beyond their charts, beyond their borders, there was a quiet world unknown to their maps. It orbited a small yellow sun, and it belonged to a species that had not yet been tested by the Dominion. The world was called Earth. The Dominion's High Council watched from their crystal throne rooms as a new report arrived. Their scouts had detected human transmissions, music, language, strange patterns of emotion and creativity. To them, humanity seemed weak, undisciplined, and emotional. A young admiral named Varric Talon laughed as he read the report. They build cities, they dream, and they fight among themselves. They are no threat. One fleet will be enough, the council agreed. Humanity would fall like all the others. It was only a matter of time. So the Dominion sent the 7th Armada, a fleet of over 1,000 ships, each one capable of destroying a moon. They entered Sol's system like shadows swallowing light. The humans barely saw them coming, only strange energy readings on long-range scanners. Governments panicked, scientists argued, military commanders ordered ships to prepare, but even they knew they were outmatched. Then something unexpected happened. From the hidden shipyards orbiting Mars, a single Terran battleship moved out of dock. It was not massive like the Dominion dreadnoughts. It was sleek, black, and strangely quiet. Its name was TSS Aegis, the first of its kind, built in secret after the human nations united under one banner, the Terran Defense Alliance. The Aegis had no ancient history of conquest. It had been built out of fear of what waited among the stars. But it carried something no Dominion ship could understand: human spirit. When the Dominion fleet arrived in orbit, they opened a communication channel to the planet below. A holographic image of Admiral Varric appeared in Earth's atmosphere, his voice echoing across every frequency. "Humans of Sol," he declared, "you are now subjects of the Dominion Empire. Your leaders will surrender your world, your technology, and your resources. Resistance is useless. We offer mercy only once." The Earth went silent. Billions watched, listening to a voice from beyond the stars. It sounded calm, confident, and full of arrogance. But before Varric could continue, another voice cut through the static. It was calm and steady. "Human, this is Captain Ryan Keller of the Terran battleship Aegis. Dominion fleet, you have entered restricted space. Leave immediately." The Dominion officers laughed. They expected fear, not defiance. Varric smirked. "You are outnumbered, human. Do not pretend your single ship can stop a fleet." But the human voice remained steady. "Then test it." For a moment, silence filled the void between stars. Then the Dominion's flagship, the Excalar, fired its main plasma cannon. A blinding bolt of energy shot across the darkness and struck the Aegis directly. Alarms sounded, fire burst along its hull, but the ship held. Its armor glowed, then cooled. Inside, Captain Keller stood on the bridge, watching the impact on his screens. His crew looked to him for orders. He did not shout. He simply said, "Target locked. Fire railgun." A sound like thunder rolled across space. A single slug, accelerated by magnetic coils, shot from the Aegis and tore through the Dominion cruiser's shield, armor, and reactor. The Excalar exploded in silence, light spreading like a dying star. The Dominion officers froze. They had never seen a single weapon destroy one of their warships so cleanly. They fired again, unleashing hundreds of energy blasts. But the Aegis danced between them, its pilot using unpredictable maneuvers no algorithm could predict. In command halls across the fleet, fear began to spread. Varric shouted orders. "All ships converge and annihilate that vessel." But one by one the Dominion ships began to fall. Their formation broke apart. their systems overloaded. The humans fought differently, unlike any enemy before. They adapted, learned, and countered faster than machines could calculate. The galaxy had known countless empires, countless wars, but never anything like this. The Dominion had ruled through perfection and order. Humanity fought through chaos and instinct, and somehow it worked. When the smoke cleared, only a handful of Dominion ships survived the first engagement. They retreated into the void, leaving behind wreckage that glowed red against the darkness. The humans did not chase. The Aegis floated silently, lights flickering across its hull. Across the stars, rumors began to spread once again, but this time the whispers carried a new ending. No enemy ever survived them, they said, until they faced a human ship. And somewhere deep in the Dominion capital, Admiral Varric watched the replay of the battle, the destruction of his fleet, and the calm human voice that had defied him. His pride burned, but beneath it grew something he had never known before: fear. He knew this was not the end. It was the beginning of a war that would change the galaxy forever. The wreckage of the Dominion's mighty flagship still glowed faintly against the void. Smoke and molten debris drifted like dying stars, silent witnesses to a truth the galaxy had never seen before. The Dominion had been wounded. In the command halls of their empire, disbelief spread faster than the flames that consumed the fallen ships. The Seventh Armada had been considered unstoppable, a symbol of perfection forged through centuries of conquest. Yet one Terran vessel had cut through it like lightning through paper. Admiral Varric Talon stared at the battle report with cold, shaking hands. The data was clear: railgun impact, precision strikes, no wasted shots. It was not luck. It was strategy. He refused to believe that primitive humans had built something superior. Still, deep in his mind, a thought whispered, what if they are not primitive at all? But pride was stronger than reason. He summoned his war council. Humanity has declared war on the Dominion, he said, his voice sharp and metallic. They have destroyed one of our fleets. We will answer with destruction. Across the stars, the Dominion began to move again. Entire shipyards came alive, producing new fleets. Armies of drones and soldiers were prepared for invasion. Varric would not rest until Earth was nothing but dust. Meanwhile, in the Terran Defense Command, Captain Ryan Keller stood before a holographic projection of the solar system. His crew surrounded him, faces pale but eyes burning with determination. They had done what no one thought possible. Yet they knew the Dominion would return. Keller's voice was calm. They will come back with everything they have. We showed them fear, and now they will want revenge. The Aegis had survived the first encounter, but it was scarred and bruised. Engineers worked around the clock, patching the armor and recalibrating the railguns. Every nation on Earth sent supplies and volunteers. Humanity had never been more united. They were no longer just Earthlings. They were Terrans, defenders of home. Far beyond Mars, human satellites detected strange movements. The Dominion fleets were gathering, hundreds of ships forming a storm of metal and plasma. The skies of Earth filled with tension. Every screen broadcast the same image: the Aegis floating silently in orbit, humanity's lone guardian. And then, it began. The Dominion fleet entered the solar system like a tidal wave. Thousands of ships unfolded from hyperspace, their engines glowing crimson. The power of an empire filled the void, blocking the sun in streaks of shadow. Inside the Aegis, alarms sounded. Multiple contacts detected, the officer reported. Estimate 1,000 enemy ships. Captain Keller's expression did not change. He watched the radar, calm as always. Activate stealth field. Prepare firing solutions. The Dominion Admiral's voice echoed across every human frequency again. Surrender your ship, human. You cannot survive what comes next. Keller leaned forward. You said that before. And with that, the first shot of the real war began. The Aegis powered its railgun array, coils glowing bright white. The first round fired, breaking the silence. It traveled faster than light, striking a Dominion carrier head-on. The explosion rippled through space, scattering debris into a burning cloud. The Dominion retaliated. Beams of plasma and ion fire filled the void, turning it into a storm of light. Every hit against the Aegis made the ship tremble. Shields flared, metal groaned. Inside, sparks rained from the ceiling. Crew members held their positions, shouting coordinates and adjusting power. Keller barked orders. Redirect power from engines to forward shields. Fire sequence 2! The ship turned sharply, releasing a burst of torpedoes. Each one split into smaller drones mid-flight, weaving through the Dominion's defenses and detonating at the core of their formation. The result was chaos. Dominion ships collided, commanders screamed through broken comms. No battle had ever looked like this. The Dominion fought with numbers and formation. The humans fought with unpredictability and heart. Every maneuver of the Aegis seemed reckless, impossible, and yet it worked. As the battle raged, Captain Keller remembered his father's words. Strength is not in numbers. It is in purpose. Hours passed. The solar system became a graveyard of broken steel. The Dominion's massive dreadnoughts, each the size of a city, began to falter. Their targeting systems could not adapt to the Aegis's sudden shifts and unconventional tactics. When the last Dominion cruiser exploded, a strange silence filled the void. Even the stars seemed to dim as if watching the impossible unfold. Humanity had won, again, but Keller did not celebrate. He knew what this meant. They had humiliated an empire built on dominance, and such an empire would never forgive, never forget. He looked out the viewport at the stars. This was not the end, he said quietly. This was the warning. Across the galaxy, the story spread faster than light. Alien civilizations that had once bowed to the Dominion now whispered of the humans, the species that fought back. The name Aegis became legend. Some called it a ghost ship. Others called it the weapon of fate. But for Captain Keller and his crew, it was something simpler. It was home, a fragile fortress carrying the last line of defense for their kind. And in the shadows beyond known space, deep within the Dominion's central command, Admiral Varek Talon stared into the void. His pride was gone, replaced by something far colder. He turned to his engineers. "Build me a weapon that will erase them," he ordered. His voice was trembling, not with rage, but with fear. The age of easy victories was over. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy changed in silence. News of the impossible victory, the fall of the Dominion's great armada, spread faster than light. It reached the trade routes of the core systems, the slave colonies of the Outer Rim, and the hidden sanctuaries of those who once dared to dream of freedom. The story always began the same way. A single human ship stood against an empire and won. To most, it sounded like myth. To others, it was hope. But to the Dominion, it was humiliation. Admiral Varek Talon stood before the Grand Council of the Dominion, his silver armor scorched and cracked, his head bowed low. Around him, the chamber burned with cold light, and the high lords of the Empire looked down from crystal thrones. Their eyes glowed a harsh, inhuman yellow. "The Terrans must be erased," hissed the High Chancellor. "They are a stain on our perfection." Varek raised his head slowly. His voice was hollow, but it carried across the room. "They are unlike any foe we have faced. They fight without fear. They adapt. Every time we think we understand them, they become something new." The council murmured in disbelief. A single species from an unregistered world had broken their order. It was unthinkable, but the truth was undeniable. The Dominion began to build. Their foundries burned through stars, producing ships faster than ever. New weapons were designed, ones meant to destroy not just flesh and metal, but entire planetary atmospheres. They called it Operation Silence, a cleansing campaign that would turn Earth into ash. Meanwhile, humanity was no longer the quiet blue world it once was. Across the solar system, shipyards worked day and night. The success of the Aegis had awakened something ancient in human nature, the will to survive. Old nations set aside their rivalries. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers joined under one name, the Terran Defense Command. More ships were built, each one smaller than a Dominion cruiser, but faster, smarter, and deadlier. The humans did not copy alien technology. They improved it. Artificial intelligence guided their targeting systems. Quantum sensors tracked enemy fleets light years away, and every ship carried the same motto burned into its hull: for Earth, for humanity. Captain Ryan Keller watched over the growing fleet from the bridge of the Aegis. He had not slept in days. His hair had turned gray at the edges, his eyes harder, his movements slower, but his spirit unchanged. Lieutenant Aaron approached him. "Sir, intelligence confirms multiple Dominion fleets moving towards Sol. Over 800 ships, Keller nodded. Then we meet them halfway. The Aegis led a formation of 20 Terran warships beyond Neptune's orbit. They called it the Neptune Line, the first defensive perimeter of humanity. There in the deep and frozen dark they waited. When the Dominion arrived, space itself seemed to tremble. Their ships filled every horizon. Black against black, endless. Thousands of red lights blinked across their hulls like angry eyes. Beric Talon sat on his flagship, the Crown of Judgment. He stared at the distant blue dot of Earth and whispered to himself, "This time, no mercy." The order was given. The Dominion fleet advanced. Human sensors lit up with warnings. Thousands of energy signatures, thousands of targets. Every human ship was outnumbered 40-1. Yet not a single Terran captain flinched. Captain Keller's voice broke the silence. To all Terran ships, do not wait for orders. Trust your instincts. Trust each other. Let's show them what it means to be human. The battle began. The Dominion opened fire first. Waves of plasma and missiles streaked across space. The void turned into a storm of light and death. Human shields flared and failed. Dozens of ships were hit. But even as their hulls burned, the Terrans did not retreat. They adapted. The Aegis dove between two Dominion dreadnoughts, using their own energy fields as cover. Its railguns roared again, tearing through one and crippling the other. Human fighter wings followed, darting like silver knives through the firestorm, striking weak points with impossible precision. The Dominion commanders were overwhelmed. Their enemy did not behave like any known race. They used gravity wells, radiation, and even the wreckage of their own ships as weapons. Every loss made the humans smarter. Every second of survival taught them something new. When the battle reached its peak, Keller ordered a full counterattack. All ships, strike now. The Aegis and the Terran fleet moved as one. Missiles cut through the darkness. Railguns fired in unison, and the very stars seemed to tremble. The Dominion's mighty formation began to collapse. Their communications filled with panic. Some ships fled. Others turned on their allies, desperate to escape the chaos. Then came the moment no one expected. The Crown of Judgment, Varric's flagship, fired its superweapon, a beam capable of slicing a moon in half. It hit the Aegis squarely, tearing through its shields, burning its armor. For a moment it seemed like humanity's hope would end there. But Captain Keller stood firm. His voice was steady even as sparks burst around him. All power to the railgun. Target the Crown's core. His crew hesitated only for a second. Then they obeyed. The Aegis's railgun charged beyond safety limits. The hull groaned. Alarm screamed. Then it fired. The shot cut across space, a spear of light that pierced the Crown of Judgment from bow to stern. The explosion was blinding. The shockwave threw ships off course. And when the light faded, the Dominion's flagship was gone. The Terran fleet cheered, but Keller did not. He looked at the wreckage, his voice low. This is not victory. This is survival. Across the galaxy, the message spread again. The Dominion had sent its greatest armada and lost. The unstoppable empire had met something it could not understand, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy began to hope again. When the last Dominion ship broke apart, space fell quiet. The weapons' fire faded, the static vanished, and even the stars seemed to pause. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's most powerful empire was defeated. What remained of their once endless fleet drifted as burning metal, turning the blackness of space into a graveyard of light. The Terran fleet floated among the wreckage, engines dimmed, weapons cooling. Their ships were scarred and battered, half their hulls torn open, shields nearly gone, but they were still standing. Inside the bridge of the Aegis, Captain Rian Keller looked out at the battlefield, his face illuminated by the flicker of dying stars. No cheers echoed through his ship. No one smiled. The silence that followed victory felt heavier than war itself. Lieutenant Aaron approached quietly. "Sir, we did it. The Dominion is gone." Keller did not turn his head. "No," he said softly. "They're not gone. They're waiting. Empires like theirs never die. They hide and wait to strike again." He stared at the data screen. Wreckage signals scattered across 1,000 kilometers. Dozens of enemy life pods floated, filled with wounded Dominion soldiers. Creatures bred for conquest now trembling in fear. The Terran fleet could have ignored them, could have left them to drift until death took them. But Keller gave the order. Recover every survivor. Even them. The rescue teams moved out. Human medics entered broken Dominion vessels, carrying lights through the smoke and cold. They did not see monsters, they saw soldiers broken and afraid. That was what made humanity different. Even after everything, they still showed mercy. Far from the battlefield across the galaxy, the story spread. For the first time in recorded history, the Dominion Empire had been defeated by an outsider. Whole species that once lived under Dominion rule whispered new words: hope, freedom, humanity. Rebellions that had been silent for generations began to stir. In the Dominion capital, however, the mood was darker than night. High Admiral Varric Talon stood alone before the Grand Council. His armor was gone. His once proud posture had collapsed under the weight of shame. The council chamber, built from black crystal, was filled with silence. The High Chancellor's voice broke it. "You failed, Varric. You promised us victory. What do you have to say?" Varric lifted his head slowly. His voice was hoarse, stripped of arrogance. "They are not what we thought they were. They are not savages or wanderers. They are something else. They fight like us, but they feel more deeply. Every loss fuels them. Every victory teaches them. You cannot crush such a species. You can only awaken it." The Chancellor's expression darkened. "Then we will erase their world. We will erase their name." But deep inside, even the council members felt it. The creeping dread that the age of Dominion supremacy had ended. The silence that filled their hall was not power. It was fear. Meanwhile, on Earth, the victory had changed everything. Cities across the planet held vigils for those who had fallen. Screens displayed the faces of soldiers who never returned from the stars. People stood in streets beneath banners that read, "Humanity stands united." Children looked up at the sky and whispered about the Aegis, the ship that saved the world. In the orbiting command station above Earth, Captain Keller sent his final transmission to every colony, every station, every ship. His voice was calm, steady, and filled with quiet conviction. "This victory is not the end," he said. "It is a reminder of what we stand for. We did not fight for conquest. We fought for home, for each other, and for the right to exist among the stars. We have seen what power without mercy becomes. Let us never become that." The message spread beyond human channels. Even alien worlds intercepted it. The words carried across light years, through static and dust, through languages and cultures. For many who heard it, it was the first time they believed peace might be possible. As the Terran fleet began its slow return to Earth, Keller stood alone on the observation deck. Outside, pieces of Dominion ships floated silently, like ghosts of an empire that had ruled too long. He could almost hear their echoes, screams, orders, arrogance, now replaced by emptiness. Lieutenant Aaron joined him.
"Sir, what happens now?"
Keller took a long breath. "Now we rebuild, but we also prepare, because someday something stronger than the Dominion will come. And when it does, we must be ready." He turned to the stars, watching their cold glow. Humanity's story isn't about war. It's about survival. And survival always comes at a cost. He closed his eyes, listening to the hum of his ship, the Aegis, the guardian of Earth. It had carried them through the impossible, through fire and shadow. Now it drifted among the ruins, silent but alive, like a heartbeat echoing in eternity. On a distant planet, among the shattered remains of the Dominion fleet, a single distress beacon blinked weakly. Inside the wreckage, a Dominion officer crawled toward it. His hand trembled as he activated the transmission. His voice was weak but defiant. "This is Commander Rail of the Dominion. The humans. They are coming, and nothing can stop them." The signal faded into the void. Back on Earth, the dawn rose across the oceans. The sun reflected off the sea, and the world felt strangely peaceful. For the first time in human history, they had faced the darkness beyond the stars and won. But somewhere deep within that silence, the stars seemed to whisper a warning. The universe had seen humanity's strength. It had seen their mercy. And it had learned one undeniable truth. No enemy ever survives humanity's resolve.